It can be overwhelming, soul-crushing, when you see so many people in a city with a population just like Pittsburgh's, tens of thousands of women, men, and children living in shacks in the desert slums of Chimbote, Peru.
Calling all the messengers, calling all the messengers, calling all the messengers.
But that all changes when first-time visitors see the caring and compassionate faces of living angels, Sister Margaret Mary Birchmeyer and Sister Lillian Bachheim, and the tireless work they and their partners, the 115 healthcare workers at the Pittsburgh-built campus, described as an oasis, because they see Christ in action.
Calling all the messengers, calling all the messengers, calling all the messengers.
Pittsburgh mission teams becoming messengers, sharing what they witness, including the heroic work during home visits, deep in the barrios, bringing powerful, healing love to so many strangers, hurting and broken.
I was shocked in the very first one on the home visits.
Matthew Ferraro's team witnessed the amazing work of Ellie and Zoraida, far from the social work center, here at the home of Isabella. Not only does she care for her husband who has stomach cancer, but Francisco, their youngest of 6 children, is also seriously ill.
We went about 30 miles inland from Chimbote to a small barrio that was kind of stuck into the hillside. And there was a woman there named Isabella that we were visiting. And she had a young boy, her son, and he was suffering from intestinal parasites. Zoraida, the nurse, was trying to encourage her to bring him into the maternidad, and she said she couldn't. She didn't have the bus fare. So one of the young people that was with us took some money out of his own pocket and gave it to her.
I could tell that she was stretched pretty thin. Her husband had cancer and he's struggling to find work, and I think that it would be really stressful and really hard just to get by with the family.
Matthew's grandmother, part of his mission team, explains what happened next.
Isabel was holding the 2-year-old, and he didn't look well, and she said for 2 weeks now he was vomiting and had diarrhea every night. And Zoraida knew right away that that was the sign of a parasitic illness, but she could not treat him without diagnosis. We were 35 miles from maternidad. She said to Isabel, "You've got to bring him into the clinic and we will diagnose him and we will treat him. He has to come to the clinic." And she said, "Okay, I'll bring him to the clinic." And the way she said it, Zoraida said back to her, "When?" And she said, "I don't know. My husband isn't working." She would have to come on the bus, and it cost 15 soles. And she said, maybe in a couple of weeks. And I watched my grandson, Matthew, who I knew had just a little bit of money in his pocket. And he kept reaching his hand in his pocket. And Matthew quickly took and went to Isabel and pressed it into her hands. And she hugged him and she cried.
Isabella and Francisco soon got the help they needed.
I know, like myself, I take some things like as simple as food for granted. And those people, they're just happy to have the simple things. Like, it doesn't matter how simple it is, they're just happy to have it.
Messengers of stories happening for the past 5+ decades. Sister Margaret Mary and Sister Lillian here for a combined 101 years, quietly serving the needs of the poor in the name of Jesus.
I'd like people to be aware of the fact that we're all missionaries, that we can only do what we do because they do what they do and are so helpful to us. There was no way we would have ever been able to do or help the number of poor that we're able to help if they too had not taken their call as missionaries very seriously.
We're only instruments, and if we don't have people that use these instruments, nothing gets done. So, first of all, we're very, very grateful for everybody's concern for the people of Chimbote, especially the people that are living in extreme poverty, because they are our families, and we have to remember that the year of mercy, it's time for us to personally take account of ourselves and be merciful.
Zoraida also found Rosa, suffering from chronic leg wounds and using crutches, hard at work washing neighbors' clothing to earn money to support her family. Rosa had to be coaxed down from her mountaintop hovel to receive medical care. Zoraida convincing Rosa if she did not see a doctor, she may not be around to care for her extended family. Rosa didn't want to spend money on transportation to the hospital because she needed all of her money for food for her family. Zoraida's patience and concern won out, and soon Rosa was at the Posta Medica on her way to healing.
They're all very much aware that it is Catholic healthcare, and they're finding out more and more of just how much the Diocese of Pittsburgh is doing down there. They always knew that the maternity hospital was supported by the Diocese of Pittsburgh to an extent. But whenever people come down to visit from Pittsburgh, you know, one of the first things you hear, they talk about the other priests that have been down there. They talk about, you know, the ones that have come from Pittsburgh and how that bridge is still continued in existence. And they know that it's Catholic healthcare. They know that it's the Diocese of Pittsburgh contributing to the Diocese of Chimbote, and that together now there's this a juncture between the two of us, really in making sure that this maternity hospital prospers.
Father Alvin McGinnis served several years in the desert and made a return trip this summer, encouraged by the increased investments being made to sustain the work of the home visits and expand the hospital complex to serve more people at the Posta Medica and the Maternidad de Maria, where more than 96,000 babies have been born.
When you look at Chimbote as a whole, it's a place of immense poverty like I've never seen before, and when you see the Maternidad and how that affects it and how they're revered in the community, you can just kind of feel the impact that they make.
The greatest example of their thank you to us are the smiles that you see continually on the people's faces. And you know, we found that in starting a parish down there, that the people that were coming and genuinely involved in the church were part of that genuine joy that was exhibited, because they thought, you know, somebody does care about us. And the maternity dad has continually showed that. Our people then would go into the maternity hospital when I was down there and come back with smiles that just lit up the whole parish then, because they saw the help that these people were given. And, you know, all you can do is say thanks be to God.
David gives thanks to God as the home visit team found him in dire need.
We went to this one house with David, which I wrote a story about David, that he had leg braces, and the leg braces years ago broke. And David is about 20 years old, and he has something wrong with his feet. Both feet are club feet, and David, every day, with no legs, he drags himself through the sand. It's sand floor home, you know, paper walls. David lives about maybe 300 feet or so across the sand from a church, which is also a church, Chimbote Barrio Church, which is also made out of reed. But David gets his guitar and he drags himself across the sand. And it is desert there, and the sand can be very hot, and he drags himself there to play and sing for the choir in the church every time they have Mass. And I look, and when we're there and we're hearing his story, and in the corner there are braces, and I said, well, why don't you use the leg braces? And they had broken, and years before, maybe 3 years before, they had broken. And they attempted to get them fixed, and they couldn't. They tried to buy new ones, and new ones were the equivalent. It was $1,600, which, you know, for a place that's years worth of income. We took the braces with us, and we brought them somewhere, and for roughly $15, we had them repaired, and we brought them back to them, and he was able to walk for the first time in years, and it was really quite an emotional experience.
For the first time in 3 years, David now walks to church, happily playing his guitar and singing at Mass.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ellie and the home health care team also found Luis, a 20-year-old man living with intellectual disabilities, sleeping on a beach mat outside of his family's small home in a shed. His frustrated family did not know how to properly care for Luis, but the team not only delivered a bed for Luis, they set it up inside their home, and now the family receives counseling on how best to care for him. And one of the Pittsburgh high school students gave Luis his sandals.
Buenos días, Cristian. Buenos días.
These stories amplify the ongoing life-affirming work of the Catholic healthcare 4,000 miles away and illustrates why the mission is being reinforced with more support. The 50-year-old building that housed the Posta Medica has been demolished, and these are snapshots of the Nueva Posta Medica being constructed. Modernized to better care for the 3,000 patients every month, several thousand more mothers in a desert journey to give birth, countless others who will be visited in their homes. Pittsburgh missionaries helping us to see and to feel that need, uniting sisters and brothers in 2 hemispheres, 2 continents, yet one family in Christ.
There's definitely a problem down there, and I think that everyone needs to get involved with this, and I think that if everyone does something to help, then we can have a huge impact and things will be different and everyone will have a better life down there.
How important? It's critical. It makes all the difference in the world. I became aware that there is no funding in Chimbote for the outreach program, all of that outreach into the barrios, and then for the Children's Center. And those are just critical pieces of the program. And what we're doing in Pittsburgh to raise funds makes all the difference for those programs to be viable.
I was really amazed that 100% of all the money was going down there. So I think by giving to something like that, something like the foundation, a dollar has a massive impact. So a small donation can have a very large effect on what's happening down there in the health and welfare of the children, the pregnant women, and far beyond, because of the outreach program they have going into the barrios, far beyond that with the social work program.
Well, I think the people of Pittsburgh should pray for the people of Chimbote, first of all. I think that they should look into their hearts and understand that there are people in this world that are God's children, just like we are, that are living lives that could use our help. There are times when, I'm tempted to buy something or add on to something in my home or to do something that I think, well, do I really need that? Do I need to do that? Would that money be used better elsewhere? I think that as much as possible we should contribute to the Chimbote Foundation to help the people, but even beyond that, just becoming more aware of the materialism that kind of underlines some of our lives, that it's time to look at ourselves and just think, what choices am I making in my life that are maybe not what they should be?
I would just hope that all the people that are at this dinner, even for the support of Chimbote, are willing to go out now and tell somebody else about it, because it is one of the unknown great secrets, and yet one of the greatest missionary works that the diocese is doing right now.
3 generations have supported this gospel-inspired mission, the bridge linking Pittsburgh to Chimbote, stronger than ever. As the foundation receives new support, this comprehensive Catholic healthcare outreach is being reinforced at the main campus, in the New Life at the Maternidad, the Nueva Posta Medica, the Padre Julio Center and Shelter for Children, and inside the vast barrios. As we watch the walls go up and the teams go out and more people being healed, more Pittsburgh mission teams will continue to visit, bringing back a renewed pledge, calling all messengers to prayerfully do what we can to reach out to help.
Calling all the